G'day everyone, David here. Welcome back. There's I'm building a NSR Aston Martin for my cousin. It's not perfectly flat, and see, in some cars you get that with NSRs. Out of the ones I've had this will be the second. This is not my car. As I just said, it's my cousin's, and the chassis is a little bit out. I'm going to try and see if I can get it on view there. You can see some light underneath the chassis there. So the nose is dipping down. There you go. The nose is dipping down and it's high above under the axle mounts. So I'm going to flatten that one out. If you go like this, it flexes down in the middle. So I'm going to flatten that out on the plate. I did this one last night. The pod wasn't really very good. I'll have that photo in the video. This one got the treatment last night, and it's a lot better. It's pretty much dead flat. And it had a bit of an arch in it. Now, what I normally would do is, I don't know where my dummy motor is. The bend in here, where's my little pointer stick? The bend in here, which where it was underneath here, it was arching from here to there. Now, a lot of the times, when you do the heat treatment of the water, hot water, the boiling water, and then cooling down in a preheated oven with the oven off after it's reached temperature, you put that light's no good. You put a motor in, like a dummy motor. That's not going to matter when it gets wet, because it's just there to space here. Here's not much of an issue, but here, when the motor gets pushed in, it puts stress on the plastic, and you do sometimes get a bit of a curve. A lot of people file in here, which is fine. That'll still work. It doesn't put it, once you file it a bit flatter on the not joiner bits, the closer pieces here, parts. I don't know what you'd call that. I don't know what your word is. Where the motor clips in. You can file that out a bit. But I would put a motor in. I think I've got a dummy one here. I don't think that motor works. So, and I'm sure that'll fit. So what I would normally do is clip that in, and no, I can't do it with one hand. Clip that in, and then I would put it in a hot water treatment. So therefore, the plastic is stretched to the point where the motor's clipped in, and whatever forces are there, once the hot water is slightly soften the plastic a bit, and the magnets are on it, it will hold that position. And then therefore the motor is in, and it's not going to actually cause any stressing and bending of the actual pod, because the motor's already there. So once you take that motor out, put the proper one in, there's no actual force pushed on the pod on these parts here. So I'm going to do the chassis now. So I'm just going to pause for a minute, and I'll set that up with magnets. So before I do the magnet part, I just want to see if you can see it. It's a bit hard. Put my bloody finger in the way. So you see that? You see the bending there? It's this part's pointing down, and this side's sitting up. And you can see the back end here as well, not sitting completely flat. Now, this car was horrible. I'll add a photo into it during this video as well. It shows you how the body wasn't sitting properly on the chassis. With the screws loose, the body screws were loose. It was sitting on the chassis, but it was sticking up at the back like it was pulling. So the chassis was pulling up in the middle. It was pulling up here because the pod was bent. So now it's all out of whack, and this car was an absolute pig to drive. I got it down to 5.5s, 5.4 I think it was, and it was just still not a nice car to drive. So We'll see what this does. Okay, so here's the magnets. I'm doing the pot again with the motor in, as you can see. So that plastic is stretched now to, I mean, when I say stretched, it's not, it's probably a couple of thou of an inch. So, but still, when it all heats up, it'll be just perfect size for a motor. So when the motor clips back in, there's no forces spreading these parts, spreading this apart. So this one's ready to go as well. So I'm going to put that in the oven. And I'll pour some boiling water over it first. Always let the kettle cool down for about 5 minutes so it's not super hot. And oh look, there's plenty of videos out there about this sort of thing. Everyone does it slightly different, but the idea is the same. So you're going to get the same results. Hopefully. No, you'll be right. You just do it like this and it'll be fine. So let the kettle cool down for about up to 5 minutes, no more. Tip the water in, let it sit for about 5 minutes or so, then put it in the oven. Preheat the oven, you know, baking a cake, but preheat the oven to 180 or so or whatever, and doesn't really matter as long as it's 180 or no less. Then turn the oven off. Make sure you turn the oven off, and then put the chassis in some sort of bowl. Anything that's oven proof, like a Pyrex dish or something, put it in the bowl or dish, and put it in the oven. Okay, so here's the dish, just an old baking tray, ready for the water. Okay, so the kettle's finished boiling, it's been sitting for a bit. Just put the water in. Now you got to remember your plate, your metal plate's got to be a good flat piece of steel. And there we are, underwater. It's warm, a bit more in there. All right, and we'll put it in the oven. Watch your hands. Oven's on, now we turn it off. And then we leave it for a couple of hours to do what it has to do. Okay, so here we are out of the oven. It's cooled down quite a bit. I put magnets under the back there, just so obviously things get really warm. So I like to keep it a bit of a spacing or something underneath so nothing changes in that height. We just take the magnets out. This is always fun because they go crazy and they pop out everywhere. It's always a bit hard to get into. Some really good magnets. Most of these are out of NSR. NSR. I don't know why I said Nico. Very strong. You can see how they work so well. Okay. Back on the fridge where they belong. Don't crucify me for that one. Just going to get all the water off it. So this is exactly what I did to Digger's chassis on his Mercedes. Dry. Look at that. Absolutely perfect. No movement, no. Everything's flat again. and it's crucial that you let it cool down naturally in the oven. So the temperature stays pretty, it drops pretty gradually in the oven. Obviously it's cooling down, so because you don't want stuff to cool down. I don't know what the actual makeup is of the plastic for this stuff, but you don't want it instant hot, then cooling down within, you know, half an hour, 20 minutes. You leave it in the oven for a couple of hours. So everything there is spot on. No flex. The nose is perfect now. It's not bent down. You can see the chassis is, I'll push it, it's pretty much spot on. As good as you'll get it anyway. It feels like that's still got to cool down a little bit more, but there's nothing there. Let's look at the pod. Try that out. So yeah, find a motor that you don't need anymore, that's no good, that's a right shape, whether it be an angle winder, side winder, inline, whatever. And get yourself a really good flat piece of plate. That's a heavy gauge bit of steel. A friend of mine gave me that probably 15 years ago, maybe more now. So long ago. All right. I'll take that motor out. And that just came out really nicely then. No flexing of the chassis of the pod. Beautiful. Perfect. Just slide off. Yeah, nice. And that clips back in the chassis. It'll be nice and flat. Perfect. And just remember, if you don't get it right the first time, you can do it again. That's really nice. Everything's square. Ready to be put back together. Okay, so everything's out. Put it back together. As you can see there, everything is spot on. The I don't know what you want to call that. The guide arm. I don't like these. Don't know why they're there. Someone will tell me. So everything's put back together now. It's all spot on. The body's moves around pretty freely. And it just sits perfect. Now, I would have put a photo up. Actually, I'll put the photo up now compared to what it is now, like this. So everything's sitting square. All this back section wasn't touching the body. Even though the body was loose, it would sit up like, it was sitting up like that. Because all the chassis was being pulled in by the bent pod. But now it's just loose body and it sits flat against the back plastic. But even though that plastic bit at the back there, the back end of the chassis is very, very flimsy. But it's all sitting flush. It's all square. All level. Perfect. Hopefully it's made a difference.